Hey everybody, this is a clip from the latest episode of the Randi Rhodes Show. If you want the full episode, you can watch live on Free Speech TV, Dish Channel 9415, DirecTV 348, Sling, Roku, and Apple TV.
Mary had a little man.
The Faux. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock.
We thought we'd give you a update on the hurricane. We got lucky in Florida, very, very lucky indeed. We had actually, our original chart was that it was going to be hitting Florida directly. Maybe I could just see that, Kevin. It was going to be hitting directly, and that would have affected a lot of other states. But that was the original
Oh my God.
chart. And you see it was going to hit not only Florida, but Georgia. It could have, was going toward the Gulf. That was what was originally projected. And it took a right turn. And ultimately, hopefully, we're going to be lucky. It depends on what happens with South Carolina and North Carolina. But it's heading up the coast.
Let him live in his fantasy world, okay? We will solve the real problems that, need solving. This man is not interested in solving any of your problems. He is only interested in two things: making you afraid of whatever it is that's happening and telling you who to blame for it. Now, I don't know, how you're going to stand there and rage at Mother Nature. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to help you, North Carolina. I don't know how that's going to help you, South Carolina. I don't know.
Do you think they put that up on the refrigerator for the president? Look what you did. We love it.
Oh, listen, like I said, a school kid could have done a better job of forging the map. They actually drew it in a black Sharpie. Couldn't you do it in a white line so nobody would have really noticed that you had Sharpied it? This is just, he is bizarre. Obviously he is not a quality person. He's a bad person. He's a mean person. He's a petty person. He's an immoral person, and a whole host of other things. Okay? But that he would put out fake weather forecasts and that a week later still argues the point while North Carolina and South Carolina are staring down a Category 2 hurricane, which is 110 mile an hour winds and 4 to 7 foot storm surges. It's just beyond belief. It is beyond anything anybody has ever seen in this country ever before. And it has to come to an end because we got serious problems. We need serious people to solve them, and they have serious plans. They were discussing them for 7 hours last night. 7.5 hours. Actually, it was on at midnight. Poor Corey. I think he was the last one before I went to sleep. They were all there, and they're all trying to tell you a couple things. All right, everybody's got a slightly different plan. Klobuchar, she thinks there's such a thing as clean coal. This is why. She's a smart girl. She's got a sense of humor. This I know. But this is why she's not going to be in the top tier. Because she was telling people last night there's such a thing as safe nuclear and there's such a thing as clean coal.
You answered a Washington Post questionnaire on fracking by saying that you don't want to ban the method of extracting oil and gas, but would like to regulate it better. You said that safe nuclear power, along with cleaner coal technologies, should continue to be developed. What defines safe nuclear power and clean coal? Don't these sound like oxymorons?
Okay, that's a great question. And I want to be clear, my plan
what I really mean
is
to say
definite, that we have to go to carbon neutral by no later than 2050. I'm a co-sponsor of the Green New Deal, so I'd like to see it even sooner, right? But at the outset, when I look at the numbers, I think we should at least get this done. We have to by 2050, and we have to limit this to 2.7 degrees warming Fahrenheit, or we are going to be in a whole lot more trouble than we already are in today. So when it comes to those technologies, I think storage is an issue. I know Senator Harris was just talking about this with nuclear. But I would look at all the plants we have right now. It is about 20% of our energy, and as you know, it doesn't emit carbon. So I would look at those plants. and make sure they're safe and figure out what upgrades we have to make to those plants. But I wouldn't expand nuclear unless we can find safe storage and figure this out. And Yucca Mountain is not the answer. The second piece about this, you asked about coal. No, I wouldn't allow for building of new coal plants. What we're talking about here as we phase out these coal plants is how we can, while they're still existing, how we can make them better for the environment.
You can't make coal clean. It is an oxymoron. The questioner was correct. And Klobuchar is, very, very, down the middle. And she is a status quo establishment person. And there's room for that in governing, but not in a crisis. There's no such thing as clean coal. And unless we figure out what to do with the waste, nuclear spent fuel rods, then we have to stop making spent rods, okay? So now, you got all these different candidates last night. Everybody had an idea. Joe Biden got nailed by a 19-year-old kid who asked, how can we trust you? You're going to a fundraiser for a liquefied natural gas company tonight, right? And Bernie, was asked whether or not he would roll back the plans to overturn the requirements on energy-saving light bulbs, and he said, duh. So, you kind of know where Bernie's at. Bernie was pretty clear about looking your kids in the eye.
Nobody in this room, just think about it, 30 years from now, wants to look your kid or your grandchild in the eye and have that child say to you, Grandpa, you knew back in 2020, 2019, what the scientists were saying. You didn't do anything, and look what you created. Look at the world that you gave me. That is not anything that I want anybody in this room or in this country to have to face.
Yeah, and he's exactly right, because we do know. We do know there are screaming headlines today in major newspapers with science and data from NASA, from NOAA, from Princeton, from every reputable group of climate scientists, presidents of Climate Scientists Association, all telling you that this is the tipping point. I swear to God, they're telling you that these storms are now more likely than not to be the next phase of storms, meaning quickly forming, quickly intensifying, quickly getting over land, and quickly stalling and sitting and like Harvey. For you in Texas, that's what Harvey was. Harvey was I call it a sit and spin. I heard them say that on the Weather Channel. Thank you. Yeah. But that's what these storms are. They stall, and they're tremendous rainmakers. And because they're coming from the ocean or the Gulf or a big body of water, they're bringing all the storm surge in with them. And we are literally killing ourselves. I mean, the Atlantic, the whole freaking eastern seaboard, you had superstorms, Sandy. I mean, these are all superstorms. They really need to call them that, because that is what they are. They're superstorms that stall. They're sit and spin, super stalling storms. And the damage that they do, we will never recover from. We will never be able to keep up with the cost of recovering from them. And now is the time to, and there's only one group of people that are really, talking about it and putting plans together and ideas together and finding markets that would support us doing this and showing you that workers could go back to work, manufacturing, workers could go back to work installing, workers could go back to work building wind turbines, and the president will sit there and say, they're no good. They cause cancer. You know what? Let's march for the cure for windmill cancer. Let's do that. I mean, he is living in a fantasy world. Let him stay there for the rest of his life.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
Radio Beacon to